حمدا كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه كما يحب ربنا ويرضى. يا ربي لك الحمد كما ينبغي لجلال وجهك وعظيم سلطانك، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله وصفيه من خلقه وخليله، بلغ الرسالة وأدى الأمانة ونصح الأمة وكشف الله به الغمة وجاهد في سبيل ربه حتى أتاه اليقين. فاللهم اجزه عنا وعن والدينا وعن الإسلام والمسلمين خير ما جازيت به نبيا عن قومه ورسولا عن أمته. اللهم أحينا على سنته وتوفنا على ملته وأوردنا حوضه واسقنا من يده الشريفة شربة هنيئة لا نظمأ بعدها أبدا. اللهم اجمع بيننا وبينه كما آمنا به ولم نره، ولا تفرق بيننا وبينه حتى تدخلنا مدخله. ثم أما بعد, dear respected brothers and sisters, as we are waiting for the month of Ramadan that's coming inshallah in a few days, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to enable all of us to fast this month, to accept our good deeds in it. We are to think about the objectives of fasting. One of these objectives that is clearly mentioned in the Quran al-Kareem is to attain taqwa. يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون. And the concept of taqwa is very much related to a central theme in any religion or any philosophy, that is human desire. How to deal with the human desires. Most of the conflicts, wars in this world come as a result of overwhelming desire to do something, to achieve something. Some philosophies and religions, they decided to deprive the bodily desires by abstaining or commanding people to abstain from getting married or to fulfill their desires, except that which keep them alive. So, total isolation, not building a family, not accumulating wealth, just isolate yourself from the world, and this is the only way for salvation. The world is full of evil, and if you get involved or when you interact with this world, then you will lose control and you will become part of this evil. This is one way of looking at how to discipline one's desire. And the exact opposite of this is the materialism philosophy, that people, the only motivation for people to work is to achieve or to fulfill their desires. Therefore, people have every right to fulfill these desires. There's no time to talk more about these philosophies and religions, but from Islamic perspective, Islam does acknowledge and realize the human desires that need to be fulfilled, but at the same time, Islam disciplines or aims to discipline these human desires to be fulfilled in the right constructive way. No deprivation and no absolute freedom. So Ramadan is a golden opportunity for us to think about these desires that we really need to control. Acknowledgement is mentioned in the Quran in Surah Al Imran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, "Beautified for people is the love of that which they desire, of women and sons, heaped up sums of gold and silver, fine branded horses and cattle, and tilled land. That is the enjoyment of worldly life, but Allah has with him the best return." Beautified in the eyes of the people, this is how we were created. We love all these things. And we work to fulfill these desires. And the Quran says there's nothing wrong with that per se. It's been made beautiful in our eyes. And there's nothing wrong with that. But at the same time, Islam aims to build the willpower that many people lack in this materialistic world that we live in. The willpower or determination or drive or resolve or self-discipline or self-control has been identified by many psychological scientists as the ability to delay gratification or satisfaction or resisting short-term temptation in order to achieve long-term goals. This is the willpower that we all need to have. The power or the ability to say, no, that's not time to watch TV now. The power to say, I cannot smoke anymore. I'm going to quit smoking. The willpower that helped us to resist the immediate urge to do something that is either inappropriate or to delay it because it's not the right time for it. It could be halal, but it's a waste of time that will abstract us from doing something more important. When you want to focus on a particular task, you have to have the willpower to not to think or to do anything else. So Islam wants us to have this willpower to be able to say no to temptations in order to achieve long term. And this is something really we need to think about as we approach the month of Ramadan, which is a great gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and a wonderful opportunity for us to think. Obviously, we think about two desires in Ramadan that we have to discipline. That, as Imam al-Ghazali wrote in his wonderful book, Ihya Ulum al-Din, Kasru shahwatay al-batn wal-farj. He used the word kasr, which means breaking these two desires. The desire, the sexual desire, and the desire of eating until we are full. And of course, there are so many other desires that we need to be aware of. Some of them are very much hidden, sealed, not as obvious. In Ramadan, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to eat less, not to deprive us from eating, but to eat less in order to be able to think more. Less food, more thinking. When the blood rushes to the stomach for the digestion, it's rather go to the brain for thinking. And let's set this as one of our goals, to think about the desires that makes us weaker, that we are unable to resist. And as a result, we become weaker, unable to achieve long-term goals, whether in this dunya or in the hereafter. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talked about in this ayah about these desires that's beautified in the eyes of the people. And the first thing we mentioned, حب الشهوات من النساء, women. Talking about sexual desire in general and women in particular. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, I did not leave behind me any fitna that is more destructive for men than women. In other words, if not controlled. Islam, of course, prescribed for us how to enjoy this desire or to fulfill this desire in a halal, pure, clean, constructive way. Marriage. يا معشر الشباب من استطاع منكم باءة فليتزوج. O youth, once you're able to get married, do so. So one of the objectives is that you protect yourself, your chastity. And as we are living in a world that is can be defined as a world of materialism, and sexuality is everywhere around us, on TVs, while we're driving, on the road, on magazines, newspapers, everywhere. And this is one of the main sources of family issues within American Muslims, divorce and so on. It's very difficult to resist all these temptations. And again, Ramadan is a wonderful opportunity for us to be able to build this willpower to resist. Islam says, don't look. Lower your gaze. Don't think so much about these things. Focus on, how to produce or how to provide services for others. How to use your time and manage your time wisely. But we need to think about it because it is a very strong desire that if we don't control, then we will suffer. We will suffer, as many people do suffer today. And the other desire, the desire of money, which is, again, nothing wrong with that. But what is wrong is that when accumulating wealth becomes unethical because we do so at the expense of others, or when the love of wealth overcomes all other priorities, including ibadatullah subhanahu wa ta'ala, including taking care of our neighbors and families and children. Then working for money at this point becomes a sin. Because money was provided for us by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in order to live our life, decent life, and in order to be able to help others. But earning money, when earning money becomes a goal in of itself, then it becomes problematic. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talked about this in many examples of Al-Quran, in Al-Quran Al-Kareem. In Surah Al-Kahf, we read the story of the owner of the 2 gardens and so many other stories. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talked about the prophets and great prophets in Surah Maryam, and then he said about that, but there come after them successors, next generations, who neglected prayer and pursued desires, so they are going to meet evil. فَخَلَفَ مِن بَعْدِهِمْ خَلْفٌ أَضَاعُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَاتَّبَعُوا الشَّهَوَاتِ فَسَوْفَ يَلْقَوْنَ غَيًّا. Allah said. They neglected their prayer, and that's enough to show how bad they have damaged their religion. Because after neglecting salah, there's nothing worse than this. As-salatu imadu din. As-salah is the pillar of ad-din. If you destroy this pillar, the whole house will collapse. There's no structure when there are no pillars. So when you destroy the pillar of Islam, which is the salah, then you cannot imagine any structure. خَلَفَ مِن بَعْدِهِمْ خَلْفٌ أَضَاعُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَاتَّبَعُوا الشَّهَوَاتِ. They follow or pursue their desires. So the desire is the leader, and they are the follower, not the other way around. Islam wants us to be leaders in this context, to be in control, not to be controlled by our desires. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us there are people who worship money and wealth. The only concern they have in their life, the only way they spend their money and their time and energy is to just think about money and how to accumulate it. Nothing else. And to achieve this, they can't do anything. Unethical, cheating, lying, taking the rights of others. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, let the slave of dinar and dirham and of the khamisa, the nice fine clothes, perish, as he is pleased if these things are given to him, and if not, he is displeased. Let such a person perish and relapse on his face. And if he is pierced with a thorn, may find no relief. It's dua of Rasulullah against these kind of people. He said, Abdul dinar. Tais, may he perish, the slave of a dinar and the slave of the dirham. His God is the dinar and the dirham, the currency of that time. That's his God because he obeys it. He wants to please it. And this is the essence of worship. We worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by obeying Him and trying to do our best to please Him, to do anything that pleases Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. Similarly, those who worship money, they will dedicate the entire life for just doing that at the expense of anything else. Ramadan is a wonderful opportunity for us to share, to understand that there are rights for others in our wealth. And our wealth is given to us by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not because we are so smart, but because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us the intelligence and gave us this to test us how are we going to handle this wealth. It is part of our tradition, brothers and sisters, to give our zakah, whether zakatul mal or zakatul fitr, in the month of Ramadan. to be aware of this fact. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows how much we love money. And He wants us to willingly give it away to someone else. To always remember, it's a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's merely a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Another desire that we also need to be aware of, the desire of speaking, or the tongue, as Imam al-Ghazali also mentioned, how to control our tongue in Ramadan. It's not only fasting on food and water and any other drinks, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to remember that during the month of Ramadan, while you are fasting, you need also to abstain from talking evil about other people or lying to people. We must control our tongue because that's something easy to use, free of charge. Very few people who know how to control their tongue. Abu Bakr as-Siddiq radiallahu anhu used to say that nothing is worthy of imprisonment than our tongue. We need to imprison our tongue, just keep it inside, don't use it unless there's a need. It makes no sense when we abstain from things that originally halal, and then we use our tongue to do things that's haram, backbiting and lying to people. There's another desire that we have to control. Ramadan, again, is a wonderful opportunity for us to do so. One of the desires also we need to be aware of, one of the hidden desires, the desire of fame, or the desire of ruling, staying in power. This is also one of the hidden desires that Rasulullah ﷺ also warned us against. You know, when we do things, when we do even forms of ibadat, we either do it for the sake of Allah or do it for the sake of the people, to be known as generous people or people who are pious or regular to the masjid and so on. That's hidden. That Rasulullah ﷺ said it's more hidden than the steps of an ant. Nobody can hear or be aware of the steps of an ant. It is that hidden. It's deep in the heart. He said, be aware of the minor shirk. They said, what is the minor shirk, Ya Rasulullah? He said that to do things for the sake of the people. And similarly, to desire to rule, to stay in power. And we have seen many dictators in Muslim majority countries. Of course, everywhere, but when people claim they're Muslims, and they just want to do or were willing to do anything to stay in power, even if they have to destroy their own country and to kill their own people. Whatever it takes to stay in control, in power, that is a desire that we have to resist. Leadership in Islam is a great, huge responsibility. When we stand before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He will ask us about the people that we are responsible for, whether we took good care of them or not. It is a desire that we really have to be aware of and to resist. Rasulullah ﷺ said in this wonderful hadith, see this similitude that Rasulullah ﷺ provided in this hadith. He said, 2 hungry wolves sent in the midst of a flock of sheep are no more destructive to them than a man's greed for wealth and fame is to his religion. So the danger of a hungry wolf to a sheep is equal to the danger of greed for wealth and fame to one's deen. This wolf can devour, this hungry wolf can devour these sheep. And this desire of wealth and fame and control and ruling is also very dangerous for one's deen. We have to be aware of that. Imam Sufyan al-Thawri, one of the great scholars of hadith and fiqh and tasawwuf also, tazkiyat al-nafs, he wrote to one of his students when he said, be aware, be careful of the desire of fame or desire of ruling. For it is much more desired than gold and silver, and it is a very concealed desire. No one knows except the very wise, godly people. Stay away from it. And he said also that you can see a person who can easily abstain from food or from wealth, but when his authority is questioned or disputed, then he cannot give it up easily. He would fight for it. He may give up his money or other desires, but for controlling, no. So we need to be aware of this. We need to be aware. We even can see this within ourselves at home, within our children. Everybody wants to control. Everybody wants to be the boss. Everybody wants things to go his or her way. And for some reason, the younger or the youngest are more dictators. I don't know if this is the case all the time, but it's just an observation. Because everybody wants to see things being done his own way. We have to fight this, to be aware of and to resist this desire. Bishr al-Hafi, one of the most famous Sufi scholars and faqih also, he said, he who desires fame does not know what taqwa is. In other words, taqwa and the desire of being famous and being in front cannot coexist. In fact, the people of taqwa, they always want to do things from behind. They don't like to come in the spotlight. They don't want to come to the microphone, but they serve and work hard and contribute without being known. Imam al-Ghazali, one of the great Muslim thinkers and scholars, he said that I wish people would take all these books I wrote, and teach others without even mentioning my name. Can you imagine when someone works hard, very hard to author a book and doesn't want to put his name in it? Because the point is not my name. The point is if people get this knowledge, that's the most important thing. That's truthfulness. And as Ayub al-Sikhtiyani, also one of the great Muslim scholars, who said that truthful people do not desire fame. So the signs of this is that these people who have been overwhelmed with this desire, they don't contribute or give unless they are in the forefront. And when they are not, they don't contribute. And always talk badly about others and talk highly about themselves. This is one of the human desires that we may all have. And we all need to be aware of it and to resist this desire and to contribute and do righteous good deeds, whether we're in front, in the middle, or behind. When people know or people don't know who did so, it doesn't matter. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows, that's more than enough. So Ramadan, brothers and sisters, is a great opportunity for all of us to think about these desires that sometimes we fail to resist and we feel so weak. Ramadan is a wonderful opportunity to empower ourselves and to build a strong willpower that help us resist the immediate temptation or to be able to achieve, inshallah, higher goals and objectives. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الخلق والمرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم وبارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. I just want to end with this quick note that I've received so many comments and feedback on Khutba I gave 2 weeks ago about I have a dream for our community, and many brothers and sisters, they shared their personal dreams and responding to my request that we should dream and dream loud and dream together. So if you want, and I believe you should, have a dream for this community, please send your dreams to dreamsforiagd@gmail.com. This is an email to send to dreamsforiagd@gmail.com. Send your dreams. And inshallah, we hope that all these dreams will be fulfilled in our life, inshallah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We need to have dreams, we need to write them, we need to express them, and more importantly, is to work hard to achieve these dreams, which is very much possible. If there's a will, there's a way. If there's sincerity, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bless the effort. So inshallah, if you have a dream, I'm sure you do, send your dreams and make it, preferably in points, clear points, so that inshallah we can gather all these dreams and try to put it together and work hard inshallah to achieve them. Again, dreamsforiagd@gmail.com. اللهم إنا نسألك الهدى والتقى والعفاف والغنى. اللهم إنا نسألك رزقا طيبا وعملا متقبلا. اللهم أصلح لنا ديننا الذي هو عصمة أمرنا، وأصلح لنا دنيانا التي فيها معاشنا، وأصلح لنا آخرتنا التي إليها معادنا. اللهم اجعل الحياة زيادة لنا في كل خير، واجعل الموت راحة لنا من كل شر. يا حي يا قيوم برحمتك نستغيث فأصلح لنا شأننا كله. اللهم لا تكلنا إلى أنفسنا طرفة عين ولا إلى أحد من الناس يا رب العالمين. اللهم انصر الإسلام وعز المسلمين. اللهم انصر دينك وكتابك وعبادك الصالحين. اللهم بلغنا رمضان، اللهم بلغنا رمضان، اللهم بلغنا رمضان، واجعلنا فيه من المقبولين الفائزين. اللهم اجعلنا من الفائزين في ليلة القدر يا رب العالمين. اللهم تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم، وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. اللهم ألف بين قلوبنا وأصلح ذات بيننا. اللهم وحد كلمتنا وارفع رايتنا. اللهم لا تجعل الشيطان مكانا بيننا يا رب العالمين وارحم الراحمين. اللهم اشفنا واشف مرضانا ومرضى المسلمين، وارحم موتانا وموتى المسلمين، وانصر الإسلام وعز المسلمين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. وصلى اللهم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. أقم الصلاة.